Hey, everybody, welcome back. We're glad you joined us again, almost an hour later.
Well, hey, everybody. We are super excited. This is our really kind of our first show with a new format. We've been testing it, doing sound checks. I mean, everything rock stars would do before they go live on stage. So tonight is that time where the house lights go down, the crowd roars, and the music starts belting, and it's time to be rock stars. So, the fun thing about me and Kelly is we're just easygoing rock stars, right? But it's so fun. This is going to be a fun show, like we plan all of our shows to be. Because in reality, this is, again, as we said before, this is a show based around our listeners. And so, with that, I will tell you, I'm so excited not only to get to have cool guests, but get to work with her, Kelly Miller, has a love and light following of listeners that just, you really have somebody that's a gem and a diamond and a row of coal that you can't find one person to say something bad about. Different from this guy, but I'll tell you, Kelly is the best thing to happen to me. I'm going to tell that right now. Because the love she brings to me, and to say, now Keith, I'm going to tell you, I will tell you, she has been so good for me, and that's what's opened my eyes to. You know what? I don't mind listening to Kelly. Kelly can do that all day long because she says the things that will help him have some great things in life. But other than that,
I'll just talk.
she. Oh man, I tell you, I'm blessed. God sent an angel in my life in the name of Kelly Miller.
Oh my goodness!
And no, a lot of people have said, man, look at that. But I tell you what, hey, that being said, speaking of fun and cool things happening, look at who we have tonight. This guy.
Yeah, I mean. It'll at least be entertaining. I've never not had an entertaining conversation with Flip. So, I mean, it's entertaining in one way or another. There's always something that, stands out.
One thing, exactly. That's the thing with him is you just, there's that humor where you're sitting here and you're paused for the next, and it's like, okay. And you just break down laughing. But, let's look at things, folks. We're in the business of helping people in the paranormal. We see a lot of things that other people could not deal with. So to get to have that side of the humor that's almost like a therapy in our business, I tell you, Flip brings that to this industry. And but I'll tell you what, he's a loved and respected guy. And we're really so happy to have not only on this show, but in our field, the one, the only, Mr. Flip Searles.
I'm having a mint. Hold on. And how am I supposed to follow that monologue? I mean, you guys registered anywhere or what?
Yeah, well.
I'll make something up.
It's a big love affair.
I'll make it up.
Oh, no matter you go to a Paracon, you go anywhere. Flip's got the table with conversation. He's going to tell you how he feels, but one thing at the end of the day, he's going to say, "Yeah, I can see your side." But that's the thing you love about Flip is
I'm lying when I say that.
Well, and sometimes that's a little creative thought is a little needed. But wow, when Kelly said that you were going to be coming on the show, I literally was like, man, how cool is that? I got to tell you, folks, and just starting with this, Flip has been really a foundation for us with this show, with coming into this creative efforts of things and what he has brought to not only aside with me and Kelly, but some insights to some things with his, his past or what he's done on some shows. And I got to tell you, this is the kind of thing you want to sit down and listen and take his advice, because that's what that's something that otherwise you'd have to pay for. You'd have to go out and go somewhere and have somebody, literally go out and tell you how to do things. And Flip is like, look, I know what you need to do. This is what will work. And I'm going to tell you what.
That to me many times. This is what you have to do, like verbatim. I think
this is this is what the track you need to take. But I'm going to tell you, as that goes along, it's like everything else. It's like getting that one listener at a time, and they tell a friend, and they tell another, and then the next thing you know, it's this magical little family night on Monday night. So we're so excited.
Has shampoo in their hair,
and there you go. But without further ado, folks, here we have the man who so many of you go to Paracons, you see Flip, you get a chance to pull up a chair and hang out with him. So, Flip.
Are you sure? Because I can listen to another 20 minutes of you praising me.
Hey, I tell you, when I said he was going to be having Flip on the show, there was, oh, dude, really? So, I just tell us, start off no doubt about it. Where did Flip, where you come from and your path in the paranormal so far, and then we'll go from there.
First, I'd like to congratulate you guys on the new format. It looks fantastic. It's nice to see you guys instead of just hearing you. And I'm the perfect first guest for your show because you're setting the bar so low that you can only go up from here.
But the graphics design is so high. So,
speaking of the graphics design, if we have a moment of silence for my mail carrier, because that's the only reason I can, think of that my check hasn't gotten here yet from you guys.
They generally pay in food.
We will. He's going to get a very fine dinner. I can assure you.
You can start by paying for my haircut. This was supposed to be an audio interview. Now I had to go spend $18 plus tip.
That's a tax write-off. It's a write-off. We don't reimburse for those. Yeah.
But back to how I started. Not like most people in the field. Most people have that story of being a young child and having these experiences. And my childhood was pretty normal. I mean, as normal as it could be with, being the son of a undertaker and a waitress. But I found myself watching a lot of television shows. And back in my day, to date myself, it was things like In Search Of and shows like that. And they really piqued my interest. And that pushed me to go into the paranormal field, mostly, the ghost field. And going to live events. And that's where I really started, cutting my teeth, if you will, as far as learning techniques and things like that. Then I was invited to be part of a private group up in Connecticut. I was living in New York at the time. And I saw the other side of the paranormal, going into people's homes or into their businesses and helping them with their problems. Mm-hmm. And after that, during the same time, I was still going to the events. And I just so happened at one of the events to meet Steve Barry and Anthony Romano. And they changed my life in this field. We started a television show together, and it just took off from there. And I've met so many great people and been able to help a lot of people. And it's been a ride, a real fun ride since.
Wow.
And now I'm here with you guys.
Man, how cool. You look at the comments and you look at some of the folks already like, Flip, my buddy. Already, you see, you Flip, we love you. And that's the thing you around is that, with somebody who's been around, who's been out there and done what you've done so far in the paranormal, but then the folks that you've really more than likely inspired, that's where you start knowing where the love comes in. And that's really cool. That's when you got that in your heart. But and
I love to teach people. It doesn't come from any great expertise. It comes from trial and error. And I've been doing this probably now 12 or 13 years.
There you go.
I've seen what works and what doesn't work. And, if I can give people a shortcut to get to where I am, why not? It's only going to further the field.
Well, that's one thing I get from investigating alongside you is that when you talk to somebody or help explain something to somebody, it's very personable and it's very straightforward and to the point. So it doesn't matter if you have a group of newbie investigators or first-time investigators, or if you have a group of other further, more experienced investigators with you, you can kind of explain to them in a way that they can understand, and also you do what I like is like immediate playback a lot of times for people. So that way they can hear what they've just tried to capture. And I think that means the world when you are trying to understand what you're capturing in the first place.
And the reason I do that is because early on, I would go to events and people would run their recorders for 4 hours, 6 hours, however long it was, and then just leave and maybe not listen to it for a week or two, or, a month later, or if they listen to it at all. And when I started assisting on events, I help out the Gettysburg Ghost Exchange with their events. I've helped RTL Paranormal with their events. People that come out and spend their hard-earned money to go on these events, you have to give them something. And that's why I started doing the immediate playback, because to see their interest so peaked after hearing that first EVP, it's a great moment for them and for me.
Wow, look at that. That just warms your heart right there. And Kelly just highlighted. He's a great with the team Paranormal Camp. He teaches them a lot. I mean, that's that part about that giving back, about these kids that are like, wow, I'll watch the shows. It's really kind of cool, but is it real? And then there you go. You say it, and you interject and give those kids a side of it that is, the truth. And that's when you're getting at that level with those kids, that's when it's something special, because those are the ones in the future that when all of us are at the paranormal, nursing home, and we're Heaven's Gates, nursing home, that, that we're one step away from being evidence, that those kids are going to be the ones, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
I thought sure you were going to say the Heaven's Gate cult.
No, I won't go with cult. No. That's no. But
I was getting ready to put my sneakers on.
No, run. No, but see, that's where you're making a difference. So I tell you what, I sent earlier today. I sent some questions to Kelly, and I tell you, I got really, I guess it's like writing lyrics for me. The musician, I started coming up with some, and I'll start firing some away, and these are some maybe you've been asked, and maybe some that you haven't, but so let's look at, we kind of think
trigonometry though, right? I never took that.
No, I know
nothing like that.
So nothing tricky on that hand, but we kind of look at the state of the field, and if we think of the state of the field, we'll go on that kind of in that spectrum. So Flip, what are some things that we could possibly do maybe to improve this field? I mean, when you think about it and you sit there and you ponder, somebody coming up and say, wow, what are some things we could really do? What would be something that you would maybe reflect on, or maybe
in education, whether it's you imparting wisdom onto somebody or them reading research, and there's no reason why we all can't be up at the same level and pushing forward from here. Somebody just starting out, it should not take them long to get up, and you're keeping them from getting discouraged too. Share what you know.
Right. I'll tell you that. I'll say that right. That's one thing. Another kudos to Jack Kenna. He's one of the only people that I know that really went to a junior college, kind of had a thought-provoking moment and said, hey, how about we have a class to where we kind of teach maybe like a Paranormal 101? And he did it. And my hat's off to him. He knows my passion about education, right? My 30 years in the fire service and teaching people, but that is something I'm really big about. So education. So we already look at the questions. Wow, very cool already. Lisa Cole is chiming in on one, and here we go. I'll throw this there to you. Flip. Hey, Bob Burnell's in the chat room as well. Hey, so Lisa Cole, do you have any advice for a mother of children with psychic abilities? How do I support that in a process with their experiences? What's your thoughts on that, Flip?
Take them to somebody like Kelly. Kelly has now been coming to the teen camp. I think this is going to be her third year. And you need somebody that can foster their abilities. And if as a parent you can't foster the abilities, just make sure you're not discouraging the abilities. You can't ostracize people for, thinking different.
Mhm.
And someone like Kelly at the teen camp, she takes them aside. She can teach as a group, but she can also do that one-on-one where you pull them aside, because a lot of the kids, they don't want to talk in front of the other kids, and find somebody to foster their abilities.
And
That
this
is
is where to find.
exactly. Yes, and I will tell you, I think I speak on this even with Kelly, and she can. Both of us, even Flip as well. I'm going to tell you right now, are approachable people. All right, you PM us and you say, "Hey, Flip, I saw you in the show. I love you. I think you're a great guy. I got some questions." This man is not going to go, "Well, I'm sorry. No, not going to happen." Kelly, not going to happen. And me, I'll give you my phone number. I'm like, "Hey, you got something? You need some help, or I can reach out to some people." That's what we do. So with that, I'm like, yay, go Team Kelly, because she's going to do that. She has that love and that kindness and that just little angelic little thing about her. And kids have those abilities, because we're knowing now, we're finding with reading and some research that these childhood little friends are there's something more to them.
Right.
And these kids are saying, "I played with this man," and then they go up and they point to a picture of Grandpa Bill, who they've never met, and they say, "I was playing with toy soldiers with him in the backyard." So that's that opportunity when maybe that child is making that connection. So I'm like, hey, go team. So very, very, very good. Yeah, and right here, I mean, I would love to know your very first experience that you knew. Oh, there's another great, amazing question, Flip. But yes, thank you. I hope that answered your question. I really do. Because get with us. Let us know. Here's another very cool one, Kelly. Do you want to take that one from Tracy?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and also there's a question that I put at the bottom too, from Tom. What precautions do you guys take to deter from bringing something evil back with you or keeping an attachment? And I'm going to specify that to Flip tonight and his procedure and equipment and all that stuff.
Good question, Thomas. Thank you for chiming in. Flip?
Kelly's not going to like the answer.
Thank you.
That's why I'm making you answer that question.
When I lecture, there's a big section on it about being respectful to fellow investigators and tolerant of their methods or techniques. And I always ask people, I'm like, how many of you do some sort of protection prayer or something like that before an investigation? And, usually about 2/3 of the hands of the investigators will go up that they do. And I explain to them that I don't. I spent a 25-year career in corrections dealing with the most negative energies every day. And when I go into a haunted location, I don't want to do anything that's going to preclude me from communicating with an entity, regardless of whether they're nice, inquisitive, or nasty. I want to talk to all of them. And as far as something attaching it to it, I have been followed home. I'm up to 4 times now, and this is after, 200 or 300 investigations, and the longest they ever stayed was 2 nights, and then they were gone. The other 3 were 1 night each. So you want to protect yourself with a prayer, do it beforehand, afterwards. I mean, everybody has their own tolerance level of what they can deal with.
And I want to kind of redirect that to Tracy's question. She asked about your first experiences. And as far as your ability, I mean, I personally, knowing you, believe that you have several. But one of the ones that sticks out to me is your ability to communicate with, like you said, all of those sorts of energies and still get some really incredible evidence. So what do you think makes you able to get the evidence that you do?
My attitude, the open-mindedness to, and the willingness to communicate with them. As I said before, some of these locations, you go into a prison or an asylum or stuff like that. I'm not intimidated by what's in there. And I can talk to, when I worked my career, I had to talk to murderers like I would talk to the mailman. You can't treat them any different. And that's how I am with spirits. I treat them all the same. I come at them openly, with the right attitude. I'm not there to punish anybody. I just want to hear what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something, again, and folks, I hope you're understanding, it's not any a form of like an abrasiveness. It's that you just go in there and you have that very, look, I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to, I would to communicate with you. And it's that level of respect that's just across the board, right? We're not walking on eggshells or little cupcakes and little rainbows, but certainly we're not running in, throwing holy water and screaming, "Oh, it's all falling in." It's coming in, sitting the chair down, turning it around. I learned this from Grant Wilson. Literally, I did. And he just sit it down and just talk to them. They're in front of you. And just say, "Hey, guys, I'm Keith. I'd love to hear your story." And you'd really almost be surprised of how over that time, and I don't know if it is for you, Flip or Kelly, but there gets to be that time to where they're like, "Hi, Flip." You'll go to another investigation somewhere else, and they're like, "Hi, Kelly." And they are...
His audio, Keith. I've never heard his name so many times. I mean, every time, every place, it doesn't matter who you're with or what you're doing. You don't even have to ask for it a lot of times. See,
and I see Steve Berry chiming in, and he can verify this, that when we would be out filming, I'd be in one section doing something, and there'd be people all the way on the other side, and then they call me because they're getting on their equipment. "Where's Flip? Get Flip." and now, on private investigation, public investigations, all that, I hear it a lot.
Wow. And Tracy brings up a really cool question right along that with Steve, is that how often on the average do the spirits visit you? Flip, I mean, is there a time where maybe you're out there and then you find yourself setting up and then they're just, "Flip, hey, Flip." It's just instantly, you're just trying maybe to do a little session and they're like, "Where have you been? I've been trying to get a hold of you."
Well, that's what's funny, because when we used to just be setting up for the investigation, I would always roll a recorder. And when people are giving their testimonials, especially the owners of the property, when they're telling you what's going on, I run the recorder, because the spirits will chime in and they'll tell them if something that they're saying isn't quite right. As far as family, I know that shortly after my brother passed, he was in my apartment in New York, multiple occasions. And whenever I'm around like a tarot reading or something like that, they tell me there's a woman near you, and I know it's my mother looking over my shoulder, tell me what an idiot I am probably, but I know that she's there.
Yeah, Steve's back in saying his name comes through all the time. But the more I think all of us are out there in the paranormal, and we have that kindness about us, I think there's the ones that they open up to, and there's the ones that they wouldn't go and sit down at the bar and share a drink with. It's like, no. Have you ever noticed that, Flip? That you'll be at some event, and a group will be coming out, and they're like, "We didn't get nothing. We didn't get nothing." We go in, boom, bam, bam. I mean, it's like just like a story. They're like, and I think that's got a lot to do with that one word. Starts with an R and ends with a T, respect. Mm-hmm. If you're that person to come in and do that, they're gonna say, "Flip's your guy." And I've even heard them, and I got this on a recording one time, and they say it, "Talk to him." Mm-hmm. And it's that they say they know, and then that's that moment.
And we've all seen those shows too that are just like they'll try to drag that information out or try to be very forceful with spirit, which those of us who do this know that's not effective. Right. But that's something that I value. Yeah, and that's something that I value about you. So,
and to that point, when I lead EVP sessions for people's public investigations, I get everyone involved, because if you have a group of 12 people, you don't know who the spirits are going to want to talk to. You don't know if somebody in your group reminds them of someone that they knew. You don't know if they're related to somebody in the group. I've had that happen where, somebody's aunt is on that EVP talking to them. Mm-hmm. And you have to get everyone involved. it's not always me, it's not always Keith, it's not always Kelly. But if the three of us went into a prison, they're going to talk to Kelly instead of us.
So I have a question then for any teams that are watching, because I know people are weighing in on different teams. I know they probably can't buy your favorite piece of equipment, but is there like a piece of equipment that they could access that you would suggest? I say they can't buy it because I think you have them all, like all of them. But
I got my specific type of recorder. I just got one in the mail today, and I'll tell you all, but I'll probably outbid you when they come up. These are the Sony ICD B26s. This is my favorite recorder. There's also PX312 by Sony is a real good recorder. But as far as equipment, start with the recorders, because I was that guy that started with a recorder and then went and bought every single piece of equipment that came out. Right. I was lucky enough to have some disposable income that I could throw at guys like Bill Chappell or, Gary Galka and purchase all these things. And it always came back to the recorder. It always comes back to a still camera.
Right.
It did the simplest things, and that's how you catch them.
And that's also how you started with your company. That is not the end, ITC. So can you tell everybody about that a little bit and like what you do for teams? Because I think it's amazing, because if we're someplace and
talk to us, Flip,
the recordings, and then you send me files and everything's where it's supposed to be, and I can find things.
Talk to us, Flip.
It's amazing. So yeah.
Well, I'll start with, I saw somebody had asked the question, how did I come up with it? I was inspired by a dead end sign where I used to live. And I'm thinking about it, and they're like, dead end, dead's not the end. And that's how that started. What we do at Dead is Not the End, we do audio review. We do it for individuals. We do it for teams. We train individuals and teams. And it started because we'd be on the public investigations, and people would run their recorders. And they're like, I never get anything. I'm like, give me your recorder. For the longest time with Steve Barry on the TV show that we did, he wasn't getting stuff. And then it just so happened he got laid up after an investigation. I said, all right, I'll go through your stuff. And there was a bunch of stuff in there. And it's all about, training your ear and being able to pick these things out. But what happens is people will send me a copy of the recordings. I'll go through them. I'll pull out the EVPs with the timestamps and everything else and send it back to them. And then they'll listen to it and they'll go back to their original recording and be like, oh my God, there it is. And it inspires them. And our best customers are the people that come once or twice. And then they get so inspired to do it themselves and review their audio that we don't hear from them again, which is fine with me.
Yeah, but it's the organization. It's the organization. Like you say, what place it is, like what place, as you mark your recorder, what place you're there, what time. I mean, everything's like by room. If you're in a place with multiple rooms, is very organized. So,
that's the importance of when you're doing the session. You say, all right, this location, we're in upstairs bedroom number 1, the blue bedroom. We're we have Jim, John, and Jeff doing the session. It'd be as precise as you can when starting your session, so you know what you're listening to when you go back to it. Makes it easier for me when I'm listening to your audio too.
That never happens. Tracy has a good question. She says, what's the clarity compared to what you see on the haunting shows on TV? Some recordings sound like tons of different phrases.
I would throw out most of what I hear on television, but it's different for television shows. I talked to one of the employees from one of the bigger shows when they were in season 1 or season 2, and he bluntly said to me, they can't afford to go to a location and film and have it not be haunted. So some of the evidence that they present is better than presenting no evidence, but it's not something that I would put out there. I mean, when I review the audio, if it's questionable, I toss it. If I can't play it for 1 or 2 other people and have them hear what I hear, I'll toss it out.
What's the one piece? That was one of my questions to you. What is the one piece of evidence that you caught that you had to throw away, that you had to debunk? You were like so excited about it, but you figured out it was something else.
I can't pick just one. There's a bunch of them, and a lot of times it'll be comparing it to a second recorder. If you have 2 recorders or 3 recorders going in a room, you pick up something on one, and it sounds like it might be something, but then you hear much clearer because another recorder is much closer to the source of it. So that's another way to check yourself. You cross review the audio.
So that's a good. I see a question by Tracy, and it's she's asking Flip, are you opening a portal by using a recorder?
You're opening a conversation by using that. They're already there. And sometimes you'll find that when you're going in and setting up for an investigation at a location, spirits around that location will come in there because you are opening up that communication, and they know that they can speak to you.
That's a good point. We were actually, how many times between you, Flip, and Kelly, have you been to a location, went there with the intentions to talk maybe to the spirits of that location, and you started getting loved ones from the people in your audience saying, is Clara there? And hey, is there a Clara? And she's like, I'm here. And they're like, ask her about, my grandchild. And, me and John have had that. We went places. We were at Virginia City, and they actually have this one on YouTube. And it is amazing. I mean, I don't think there was a dry eye in the room. There were like 15 people in there. One of the first times I've ever had not just the first name, but the second name actually of this person. And they just went through, and we spent 20 minutes of back and forth. It's as if they were sitting right there, and they were asking about, how have you been? How are things at work? Congratulations. And we were like, oh my, it was like one of the most amazing ones we've ever. It's on YouTube actually, but I thought that was something that's amazing. Here's another great question for you, Flip. Mallory Savosky. So where's the most active location that you've been to, Flip? What do you think?
This question comes up all the time, and without a doubt, I haven't been everywhere. So I'm not saying this is the most haunted location, but for me, the most consistently active, evidence-producing haunted location that I go to is the Shanley Hotel in New York. It's amazing. It truly is. It just for photographs, for recordings, for seeing shadows, for noises in the room, everything. Wonderful, wonderful place. And I just happen to be going there in another less than 2 weeks.
Okay, off we go. I'll be asking for a vacation. So here's yet another cool question from Tracy. So here's that being said, where is a place that you would never return to due to the spirits?
There isn't a place.
No place.
If there's spirits there, I still get as excited with the most recent EP that I've gotten as I was with my first EVP that I got. It thrills me that much. There hasn't been a place that was that off-putting. Bobby Mackey's came close. I actually got scratched across a couple of my fingers and blood running down my hand sitting in the apartment. But I'd go back there tomorrow.
Yeah, David Bain actually mentioned something with Stephen Berry about the table tipping at the Hoover House, and mentioned about that his father actually came through twice at that location. But anytime you can go get to spend time with the Berries and their locations, go. They have some amazing locations. Here's my friend. I want to give a big shout out, me and Kelly as well. Courtney Peterson, lover, sweetheart. She's done so much with us, just being there for us. Do you believe spirits help other spirits that can manifest for themselves? Do you think that they maybe give them some sort of something that possibly, if they're in that learning stages of being a spirit, and here's another old seasoned spirit, been there for 10 years, he says, come on, rookie, I'll show you how to do this. I guess like the movie, maybe.
Well, I was going to say more so than the scenes from Ghost. I would think that spirits let the other spirits know that it's okay to communicate. And what you were saying before about loved ones showing up on investigations and stuff. They might not approach you if you weren't in that setting, but they see that you're doing it. You're opening up the communication, and it's creating an atmosphere where it's all right to talk.
Here is another person that I'm going to give a huge shout out. We love you, Bob. You're so loved by the paranormal community. You give so much love and shout outs, and I can't even give you enough kudos. I really do. Bob Burnell, folks, is someone that is out there doing what he does in the paranormal, but he's just a kind-hearted guy. I've had some conversations with him over the phone, and that man has a passion for the paranormal. I'm telling you. But he has a very cool, and he's real. If you've seen some of the stuff he has, Flip, it's amazing. What software do you use, Flip, for your audio?
Audacity. It's free and easy. I'd see people, they'll go spend hundreds of dollars on a program. It's like, well, I can reverse it, I can play it forward, I can speed it up, slow it down. And me being alive, I can't speak backwards. I don't know how I would gain that ability once I pass. There's too many options with that software. I like to keep my audio as raw as I can. The only thing I might do is boost the volume on it. But if it's not there, you can't create it.
Some other great folks I'm going to give some more love to. This is a night of love, Flip. Brett and Emma are folks across the pond. How much love can we tell them? They're making equipment. They always are on, telling about birthdays. I love you guys. Everything else. How sweet of two people are they? Just kind-hearted people, but they're just giving a big hi. I want to say hello. Tracy asked she's just really nailing the questions tonight. And this is for you, Flip. How can you have a spirit manifest of a loved one, and does it disturb their rest?
They're coming to you. I mean, all you're doing is putting out the tablecloth for the meal. Who shows up is on them. You can't drag somebody and make them be part of your EVP sessions.
Wow, there's another. Katie asked. Here's another one. Katie's got a really great question. Katie, hi, Ethan Rowland. Katie asks, do you have any tips for opening yourself up in order to better communicate with your spirits during an investigation? Flip.
Well, either you're open or you're not. Either you can talk to people or you can't. When I speak on the subject, if you're the kind of person that has trouble communicating with living people, you're going to have trouble with the spirits. You have to be somebody that they want to speak to. And the easiest way to do it is just be open. If you're in a private house or like an old mansion, something like that, go in there and start complimenting them on their house.
Yes.
Don't use the standard questions that you see on the television shows. Don't use, who's president when you were alive, all that kind of stuff. Talk to them as if you're walking in a living person's house. And the same way that you would speak to them is the way that you speak to the spirits, and that you'll get them to respond that way.
See, and that's another one. Just it comes back to respect. If I was to think anything, and that brings up one I'm gonna give to you, Flip. I'm gonna see what your thoughts are. And this is something in these times we should look at as well. What would you think are some of your concerns with about this field, Flip? Some things that like if there was something I would really kind of look at, this would be one of them. What's your thoughts about some concerns? And Phil, speak freely.
Demons.
Yeah.
Everything I've done, I've never come across one. I've come close to some real nasty things, but now the whole field is shifting, and it's because of the television shows, because it gets to a point where the ghosts aren't scary enough anymore. So now it has to be demonic, and they have to bring, that whole angle into it. And it's bad for the field. I truly believe it is.
So here's another great one from Tracy. She's had some great ones tonight. Is there a way to tell if a spirit is actually false such as a negative spirit impersonating a loved one? Great question, Tracy. What's your thoughts, Flip?
Ask them personal questions. Ask them when your birthday is. Yeah, spirit or human. If you question that they are who they say they are, ask them personal things. And if it's Aunt Mary, she's going to know. Ask, who are you married to?
That's a good point, Tracy. You just think of it. If their favorite city was Las Vegas and they love to go and gamble and just have the high times and rip it up, then they should know that question. I doubt a demon's going to be able to pull that one out of his hat. So,
well, maybe Las Vegas.
I do have a question, though, for all my cryptid family and friends. Was there ever a time that you caught any evidence that you thought may have been non-human in the way of a cryptid energy or being?
Non-human in the way of an animal, yes. Non-human in the way of Bigfoot, I haven't been in that setting, really. I mean, back when we were filming Paranormal After Party, we had talked, we wanted to expand and go out and go on Squatch hunts and things like that. It just never materialized. So do I think if I'm investigating an old ice cream parlor that Bigfoot's in there? Probably not. So I'll attribute it to something else.
So 2 really good questions. I'll ask this because this ought to be pretty easy. Dina Ray, she brought one in, and this is a pretty good one too. Flip, have you ever helped a spirit cross over that you felt that you may have given that to go ahead and make that move over?
Not my job.
Okay.
We tell people when we used to investigate homes, we'll tell you if they're there. We'll show you that they're there because we're playing the evidence for you right there. We had people to refer them to if they were interested in crossing them over. But Rose Porto, this was the group I was referring to, Connecticut Spirit Investigators. She used to tell people it's like if your brother-in-law came and slept on your couch for 3 months, and you wanted him out, the same way you would tell him, listen, it's been great that you're here, but you have to go. This isn't your permanent space. And a lot of times you can get them to move on like that. But something that really wants to stay there that you need to have pushed out, you got to call somebody else.
Hey, Flip, I got a really great question. Thomas Cardos is another great guy. He was excited to see that you were going to be on the show. And he asked, he lived in a haunted house, and he says that he was harassed by a spirit there many times. And the question is there a way to find out if that spirit is just evil, or could it possibly have been demonic?
I think it's a lot easier to figure out if it's somebody that used to own that house or used to have a house in that space. Again, demons are not my area of expertise. I don't claim to be that knowledgeable about them, but research your home, research the property. You'd be surprised what you can find out. Get names and start talking to them by name and see if it changes. Like, I know if I was a spirit, that wasn't happy with what you were doing in my former house, you start calling me out by name, I'm going to react.
And by the way, if anybody who's watching wants to watch Flip's show, it's still on YouTube.
It is. Living forever on YouTube.
So therefore, there's a chunk of seasons on there you can watch from beginning to end.
Courtney
watch starting around season 4. That's where we really start getting our act together.
So Courtney's another great friend of ours. She brings in that a point that sometimes these supposed type spirits that kind of show themselves as maybe being a demon aren't so much. It could just be that it's another entity just trying to scare you out of the house, but in fact they're not demonic. So
I'll tell you a story. Steve Barry's still in here.
There goes an order right by your head.
I saw that I saw Steve mentioned the boarding house. Early on in our filmings, there was this place that Steve actually lived next door to it, and we investigated in there, and we had these 2 knucklehead male spirits. We caught them all night talking to each other. The place had never been investigated before, so we're on the 3rd floor, and we said, hey, if you don't want to come up here, we left some equipment on the 2nd floor that you can interact with, and there was a recorder going down there, and later, upon review of that recorder, we caught one of them saying, "How's this thing work?" So
Now,
we followed them all around this huge building down into the basement, and they're talking in these deep guttural sounds and scary voices, and we knew that it was still the same two knucklehead spirits that we were talking to the entire time and trying to intimidate by trying to sound scary and maybe having some fun from their side.
I think that's the case because you hear some of them giggle, and I think they're like, "Look, I got nothing else to do. It ain't like I get to go to Dairy Queen and have a dreamsicle tonight." Steve put something about, yeah, hey Flip, that was a great night. So y'all have a great friendship, and I tell you, you can't help but love Seaberry. Alfred Santagria, hey Keith and Kelly, and my man Flip.
Al's great people.
Yeah. There's a lot of them out there.
Fantastic investigator.
That's what I'm saying. So many people
invited.
Well, Tracy, looks like she said, I was raised to believe that the more religious you are, the more chances of demonic spirits visiting. Is this true? Do you think that could be maybe under some sort of attack, that they maybe want to try to push your envelope of your religion? Maybe
it's hard for me to answer because I'm not that religious, and I don't think I'm that interesting that one would come and want to hang around.
So that, yeah, and sometimes that might be the case. Maybe they're just trying to push, and it's very possible. It's not that that's not the case. If you're a religious person, continue to be, because the one thing that I have found in my times, if they think that they can get over on you and to get you to say, okay, if I give up finally, they've won. The more you're like, nope, I'm alive. You're not. I'm not backing down. I have all, after a minute of time, they're going to realize this guy's standing by it and he means it. So,
and that's one of the things that both Flip and I, as we help families and teams and things like that, like we'll advise, have a belief system, no matter what it is. It's the intention that's behind it. So to have that belief system helps establish a lot of boundaries in your own home.
Yeah, and that is true. You hear a lot about the grounding and nature. And I tell you, another person, we were talking earlier about EVPs, and I'm going to give a shout out to Sherilyn Carter, who I eventually want to have her on the show as well. But she is so versed in about grounding and the earth and of how the ways to get to have that connection, that she really hasn't had a lot of those issues. She's been able to just go within herself. And I got a lot of love for that lady, because I tell you what, she's been around the paranormal for a minute, wrote several books, and she's very well versed on that. I call her the queen of EVPs. Herself and Tony Rothman are doing a lot in the world of EVPs and spirit communications and those abilities. So Tony's working on an amazing piece of equipment. We can only hope that day comes that gets to get out there, because I got to tell you, it's much like when the EMCCD camera came into play with my friend Brandon Alvis about getting to see those light anomalies, which brings me to another question, Flip. So in the world of, we've seen some orbs, we've seen some other things. It's a hot button topic that gets brought up.
I didn't know there were going to be sound effects.
I have all
kinds of ideas.
But here's budget for sound effects.
I
know. But here's the hot button topic, right? A lot of people, well, let me tell you what they are. And then you get to decide, well, I found that, okay, at the end of the day, there are a lot of people that send me some amazing stuff that I look at and I'm kind of like, I can't really push that away. I've actually, I got an EVP as well. I says, how are you showing yourself? The family is seeing you and they hear you. And this thing, very in a stoic type response, goes, balls of light. And I mean, beautiful orbs that just come at me and then they go away from me. And I'm not away, like the HVAC system with the way the air flows into the wind, not blowing it like dust or like little wings, but I'm talking like shoo, then away. I put out a video on that, Flip, at a place for my friend Mike Catching down in Galveston. And this dude goes around this store for 20 minutes, walking up and down the aisles as this little anomaly. And then it finally goes zip and it goes away and it leaves. What's your thoughts on them? How do you think that they may possibly tie to the paranormal?
I think that they could be balls of energy, but I am much more impressed by video of orbs than still pictures. All you people that send me pictures with your little blue orbs that you took with your phone, that's from your phone. iPhones are notorious, and even I'm starting to see it now in a lot of the Samsungs. Bright blue balls will be in your picture.
I may or may not have just sent him a picture like that. And then
Steve.
he was like, no. It wasn't my picture, but I shared it with him, and he was like, no.
He shot you down.
I mean, I was disappointed because, like, you guys are the tech side of this, so I was like hyped. But I mean, I learned
sharing the information, and a quick Google search will show you that that's a common thing with cell phone cameras, that you get these little bright blue balls on your photos. When we filmed the pilot for the show, Steve had set up a bunch of DVR cameras in a place. It's called the Mansion House in Kresgeville, Pennsylvania. And I used to sit at work and watch the cameras live. And I caught something one night, and we ended up putting it in the pilot episode, which is probably the only good thing about the pilot episode. But it's an orb, and you see it traveling toward the camera. It's coming down the hallway toward the camera. And about halfway down, a second one comes out of one of the rooms and joins up with it, and they move together.
Oh,
that to me is compelling.
Mm-hmm.
That's a showstopper.
If you come up and show me a picture of a little gray circle on a picture, probably dust.
So here's another good question right there before Courtney's. I'm going to get to Courtney's. Thomas asks, what is a good, reasonable device that's affordable for recording for EVPs? You mentioned something, but could you give that again? Because I think Thomas may be trying to outbid you.
The recorders I use are Sony ICD B26s. You can usually get them around $45, $50.
If Flip logs on, he's logging $100 to start with, and he said they're mine. They're mine. And I get them.
The thing about me, they're hard to get, but I won't erase my recorders. Back when I did most of the audio for the show, and I kept the recorders because I always expected somebody to come in and challenge us on a piece of evidence. So I never recorded over my recordings. So now that's why I have 75 or 80 of those recorders.
What about, before Courtney's question, what about the legitimacy of an app for recording EVPs? Do you have an app that's legit? That's not, or most of them not?
Voice recorders on their phones.
So you think they're okay to use for most teams?
They are, but I would rather have a physical recorder that you can manipulate different things on, like mic sensitivity and things like that. Find the cheapest recorders that you have that have voice activation. Nobody wants to sit there and listen to 8 hours of recordings. If the EVP is not substantial enough to trip your voice activation, then it's probably something that you would toss away. Unless you want to pay me to go through 8 hours of your audio.
You want to pay them. It's all organized. You want to pay them.
But I don't want to sit through 8 hours. Get something. If it has noise reduction on it, make sure that you're able to turn the noise reduction off, because that's where the EVPs lie a lot of the time. They're in there with the noise, and you can train your ear to be able to pick those out of the noise. Same way with things like EchoVox. You're speaking about apps. I think EchoVox is fantastic when it works. I think ghost boxes are great when they work. The problem is people will hear a syllable here, a syllable there, or a full word, and they start creating their own scenario using these elements. Like you'll hear apple, and then you hear rope. It's like, oh my God, they hung you from the apple tree. They're just most of the time random words. So unless you're getting a full sentence or a few words together, toss it.
Mhm.
So there's a couple of good questions, and I promise I'm going to get to them real quick.
I'm laughing at Al's comments.
Real quick with Courtney. Courtney, I'm going to tell you what. So the answer to your question is, if you have something that's that dense of an anomaly that it sets off some sort of a device like a CCTV or like even those rings, and we've actually tried to do some other tests to see if other stuff would set them off and haven't got them to. But I will tell you, some of the ones that have been sent to me, again, there are some things that I look for in orbs that tell me they're more paranormal than not. And I'm going to save that because we're going to have another whole special show about that with another amazing person. But that leans more to me to paranormal than the other percent that's not. So I'll get with you about that after the show because I want to see that. Here's our friend again with Bob Burnell. Great question. This is amazing. I love this one, Bob. Question for any of you. Have you ever caught music in an EVP? I just found a 20-second clip flip of 40 Styles music, and I was personally there, and he didn't hear any music. What's your thoughts?
First of all, make sure somebody wasn't there using an energy speaker and playing that kind of music to coax them out. Yeah, of course, you can pick up music. I've done things in prisons where you hear prison sounds. I mean, the things that I heard for 25 years, you hear them. They show up on your recordings. There's a fantastic video, going back to the Shanley Hotel, Dutchess County Paranormal of New York. They have a video on YouTube called the Shanley Hotel Piano, where they had a video camera going, filming their cleanup and just goofing around as they ended the night, but someone was filming it. And a guy's sitting, messing at the piano. He's playing it. And when he stops, he has, he's got meters on either side, K2 meter and ghost meter, and they start going off. And he'd play, stop again. They would go off and come out at the same time. And as they're talking, once he finishes playing the piano, you hear a second piano playing for Elise. Mm. And totally different. The camera's still on him sitting at the piano just talking, but you hear a second piano playing that song.
Wow, that's pretty interesting as well. So actually, yeah, I see David said he's caught some at Sachs Bridge, which is of some kids humming. I've had some stuff there. Yeah, amazing stuff. And then Tracy asked another one about, have you ever had recorders picking up radio waves to produce answers? Flip. Recorders.
A recorder picking up radio waves? No.
No, if you're getting something there like words or so forth, Tracy, that should pretty much be what's right in that environment. You should not be getting those. So Alfred asked a good question, our guy. Have you ever caught EVPs in the audio of your TV show? And yes, they I know Andrea Perrin, they were doing something from the house, the very
Conjuring house.
Yes. And they were talking, they were doing some communicating about what was the event. And like in the background there, something kind of shut off and there was a little bit of chatter and then it went away. And they were like, did you hear that? Did you catch that? Did you hear it? And I was like, we're talking about the paranormal. We very well may have asked a question. And then right there at that moment, they'd say, yeah, I'm here. It's me. So it's very possible. But
yeah. Yes, there are things that you catch in the video that you're not hearing on the recorder, or you're not hearing, like if you're using something as Echovox. I tell everyone, Echovox, when you use it, videotape your session because your camera will pick up things that you are not hearing.
So see there again, folks, any time that you can have something that helps you kind of tie to that investigation, make sure that you try to eliminate other outside interferences that could contaminate your environment to get that evidence.
And not only that, it's good because why you might hear something and you're all reacting to it. Oh, did you hear that? Seconds are going by where there might be something else in there.
Yeah. And Bob's Steve said something about the EVP that says cut her. So somebody may have heard that one. Bob has another really cool one. Bob talks about check out Randy's say that says you can find him on Facebook. He constantly catches EVPs inside of videos, TV programs. So this guy must be actually doing stuff, and he gets the EVPs from there. So Alfred's got another really cool one. Have you ever caught EVPs on one device but not another at the same time?
Yes.
You got maybe okay. Yeah.
Very common. That's why it's important to have multiple devices going.
Yeah, and Steve's talking about the Gettysburg battlefield bed and breakfast. Anytime anything Gettysburg out there in that battlefield, you got to think Gettysburg, thousands of people. Galveston, Texas, thousands of people. You get these places where that acute tragedy happened and that imprint is right there and it's just in time. Those things just loop like that reel at a movie theater, and people have brought me things, and you'll actually hear events and people being shot, and they're like, I'm dying, and then it just loops right back over, or I'm gonna die.
And I don't claim to be sensitive or have abilities or any of that, but I remember my early days of visiting Gettysburg. You walk on the battlefield, and it felt like somebody punched me in the stomach as you're walking around. It's there, as you said, there's such an imprint of energy in that area, and I'm lucky enough to live this close to it.
Yeah, Tracy said she's had some events that really got her freaked out. I've had lights blowing out at times in a place I lived, and freaking seeing a man with a knife standing beside me, but then he wasn't there. It scared me so bad I would not leave the room for several days. Oh wow, wow. That'd have been one you probably maybe needed to have somebody come and
you gotta get someone in there,
some intervention. Courtney's got one. It's interesting to pick up the same capture on multiple devices. She says the EVP DR60 and Spirit Box has had a couple of times with her team. I believe you can't deny the evidence. Then, and Flip will, just like Flip was saying. So when you get some of those times you capture that type of something that's like really hard to dispute or deny, have you had those times where you went back and somebody was not able to really pick something up, Flip, and you went in and said, okay, this is what it is?
Usually it's different. People will call me in because they're experiencing something. I've seen where certain teams will go into a location and not pick up anything, and other teams go in, and it all depends on who they want to speak to. But as she was talking about having multiple pieces of equipment going at the same time, of course, as long as they're not interfering with each other. And one thing that I happened upon, we were filming in Coney Island, and we're in the bumper cars, and they had this big portrait in the DJ booth of the owner that had passed away. And we just happened to have a K2 meter sitting up on the DJ booth, and we're doing the playback. And whenever something would come across as an EVP, the K2 would light up, and we stopped the playback, and I'm like, "Is that you?" And it would light up. So now on playback, I always have a K2 meter going, because if something speeds by that you don't hear, they'll let you know.
So Katie's got a pretty interesting one, Flip. How often do you get EVPs that turn out to be more of the residual type events, more maybe than the intelligent of the moment events?
It happens quite often, and the easiest way to differentiate between the two is it answering your question? Sometimes you'll be on a line of questioning, and that's another reason that I tell people to do on-the-spot playback and review of your audio, because you can't have a conversation with someone unless you're hearing their side of the conversation. And when you play it back and you hear them responding, then you can further that line of questioning. But a lot of times you'll get a scream, you'll get them talking to each other will show up on your recorder. It has nothing to do with you.
Wow. There's some really tough times there. I see where Thomas said that once they moved from that location, they had priests comes. The other residents had priests, and they didn't have any results. And Tracy had put. She says, "What additional equipment is excellent to have with EVP recorders for a starter? What would you think? There, a little starter, jump starter kit there, Flip, as far as some things to kind of go with. What's your thoughts?"
Recorder's a must. A good speaker to hook up to your recorder for doing your on-the-spot review. Cameras are great. Just don't become a slave to your equipment. A lot of people, you'll see them on public events where they show up this big, huge rig with everything attached to it, and they're walking around like this the whole night. And things are happening here that they don't see because they're so focused on their viewfinder and what's directly in front of them. I'd much rather go in, instead of a rig like that, I'd rather go into a place with no equipment and feel for them, touching you, tapping you. Pay attention to smells, things like that. It's your body is an amazing tool to pick up paranormal evidence.
We have our friends in the house too, folks. Much love and light to our friends, Anthony Holmes and his wife. So much love and light to them. I will just say that he's more than anything is just that they are staying strong. They want more than anything to just put that out there.
And a lot of people are staying strong for them.
That's true. That's true.
You have a friend when it comes to Talking Tech Paranormal. I'll tell you, you could call me at 3 a.m. and I'm there for you, buddy. And we're there, so just know that. Yeah. So, wow, we got another one.
So Talisha says, how often have you found that homeowners' own energies are the cause of the activity?
Wow, good question.
Plenty of times, and that'll come out in your pre-interview with them. You'll say, all right, have you had, things going on at other locations? Well, yeah, in my house in Cleveland, this was happening. Before that, I was in Tulsa, and this was happening. Probably a good chance that they're following.
Mm-hmm.
See there?
And Tracy asked what you think of the SLS camera with the stick figures.
I've seen compelling stuff, and I've seen a lot of trash. Just like a lot of other pieces of equipment.
That's a good question, and I'll give you a little insight to what I had one time. And this is when I knew I had some belief in it. One of the most important things, Tracy, when it comes to when we have anything with any type of camera is your field, right? If you have a group of people and they're all moving about and all around that field, they need to be on the other side of you. You need to have a space where nothing else is there. And then as you're starting to sweep that field, if you do happen to get something, don't panic, calm down, and then just kind of continue to say, hi, I think I see you. If that's you, can you talk to us? Try to get an EVP. At the same time, say, hi, can you see me waving at you? Can you wave at me? And then if everybody living's behind you and it does that, okay, it might be an intelligent type spirit and maybe getting AVP. I did an investigation one time, and the daughter's, her father had passed. I did use the equipment, the SLS, and the reason we knew it was him is he did one thing that other people don't do, and guess what it was? Every time when he would come up to introduce himself, especially to women, he would bow and he would bend over and he would say, I bid you adieu. He would say like, hello, very kind. And he would take your hand. That SLS at that time with that little figure, it bent over like this. And she started crying. And I said, what? She says, every time my dad introduced himself, he bowed. And that's when I knew, okay, we may have something. And that's when I was like, okay, that's different. I will give a big shout out to Jeff Conkle, who is another person I want to have on the show. He's been doing some amazing stuff. He was recently on Ghost Adventures up at our place up there, Vulture City, with my friends Jay and Maria Yates, who we're going to be having on the show. And he got to have some amazing stuff with his camera. So there's lots of really cool things coming out there, folks. with equipment that is being tested in some environments that are target rich for paranormal activity. And as we continue to push that in all of us to get those answers, we're trying to get equipment that cannot be said, okay, you can't use that has this field or this field, and it's not credible. So then we have to go back to the table and think, what can I use to make it to where no one, and the Rock says no one can say that it's anything other than some incredible equipment. It's got to be right, because once it's credible and you could say I cannot deny it, and you get all the naysayers, then you can say I think we're onto something. And I really think Jeff Conkle, my hat's off to him. He really hit the homework, because they got some stuff there that was amazing. So I'm excited later this year. I think me and Kelly in October are going to be out there, and maybe I can get our boy Jeff to come out there and give that stuff a run, because he got some amazing stuff. So,
and remember, you're never going to win everyone over. People
no.
are always going to be the naysayers. I mean, there's people out there that think the Earth's flat.
Yeah, you're going to get your haters. You know, they're not. They're not getting their tip cookie of the week. So the way to build them up is to break others down. Anyway, there's that.
Deanna's asking a question about my favorite piece of equipment. The only piece of equipment that I don't break with my own energy. Deanna's asking that question. So, What do you think of using flashlights for equipment during investigations?
Flip, you want to take that? Go ahead.
I think flashlights are fantastic because it's set it and forget it. You just put it there, and if they want to manipulate it and turn it on, yes. I've seen, much like every other piece of equipment, I've seen some real questionable stuff, but I've seen fantastic results. I was in Mansfield Reformatory with Chip Coffey.
Wow.
And he had, yes, Chip. He had 3 or 4 flashlights. They're all different colors. And on command, he would say, light the green one, light the red one. And they were doing it.
Yeah.
To me, that's undeniable.
There you go. Hey, Bob's checking out. Bob, we appreciate you doing the show. We love you so much. Great questions tonight. Let's see, maybe some more that we're still seeing. Tracy said, thanks, very informative. Tracy, thanks for popping in. Our friend Alfred there, he says, we did the Chance Theater last Saturday, and we had a child stick figure on stage dancing. That's another good one. When you have a totally palette of nothing on the stage of humans, and you get instruments like, I believe it was Ghost Adventures had one time. They had people playing instruments. Very good. They had people dancing.
I've played that stage many times back in the band days.
I mean, when you have that, it's hard to deny it's not the case. So Tracy asked a pretty good question, and Thomas said, "Great show, guys." Thomas, thank you so much, man. So much love. And he says a shout out to Flip. Thanks, man. We do. It's got there. It's asking. Tracy says, "What state is a hot spot for paranormal?" Flip, let us know if you had a place of all the states, and you said, "I'm flying you out. I'm putting you up. You're gonna get to investigate. You got a week to do it. Set it and forget it." Flip's concert. Where would you go? Where would you go? What do you think?
North Dakota. I'm just kidding. Nobody wants to go to North Dakota.
Forgive anyone who's listening and watching from North Dakota. He doesn't know.
Get out of North Dakota. Look into my eyes. I would say in America, but since that's where they usually keep the states, I really enjoy the Northeast because there's more history in the Northeast. A lot more happened, a lot more conflict. It's just so rich in history. Pennsylvania has been fantastic since I've been coming there. I love Virginia. Massachusetts is a big favorite of mine. Most of the private homes and stuff I did were up in Connecticut. Another great spot. I mean, I don't think geographically you can say one spot is better than another, but I would say maybe regions. I would go with the Northeast.
So Big Al's asking a question. He goes, Flip, He goes, your opinion, old school versus new school techniques. What's your thoughts?
Use them both.
Use them both. Yeah, no doubt. Some stuff from our past we owe our homage to. We really have to say, wow. And that's sight, sound, hear, see, and then some of the equipment of the present. I think we would cut ourselves short to not entertain that. But more than anything, go in with a sense of openness and say, what is it that we can, learn from this? And of course, be safe, but also have fun.
And when you think about it, when somebody's experiencing something in their home and they call you in to investigate it, they weren't walking around with equipment. They were just walking around, or they were just sitting around, or they were laying in bed, and these things were happening to them. And which takes back to, your body is and your own senses. Those are your best tools.
Right.
But you want things to document it. And that's where the recorders and the cameras come in.
Absolutely. And folks, that's such a good point. You go into these homes, one of the things I know I'm sure Flip does, and Kelly explains her process too, do an equipment explanation to them. Show them what you got. Okay, this is my recorder, and this is what we're going to do. This is this piece of equipment. It's an EDI plus. I'm gonna do pressure changes. I'm gonna be doing. It's gonna be doing. Static. It's gonna do. Explain to them how that works, so they're like, "Oh, that's cool." Don't put them away in the dark, and they're like, "Well, what? How does it work? What are you doing?" That lets them know that they're involved in that and a part of that investigation. So.
And that goes for the spirits too. I mean, there's a big difference if you're going into Trans-Allegheny where they're in there multiple times a week. The spirits in there know what's up. They know what your equipment is, and they know if they're going to interact with you or not. But when you're going in someone's private home that hasn't been investigated before, you have to explain to them. And it's the easiest thing in the world. Say, hey, listen, I have this device that can record your voice. And if it records your voice, I'm going to play it back so you can hear your own voice. Easiest in the world.
Hey, Flip. So there's a question Tracy asked, and I was going to lean into this as well. But she asked about Native American spirits. Have you ever had any really kind of contact with that at all in your time in the paranormal at some time?
You do, and it's been the rare case where you're actually going out looking for Native Americans. But Gettysburg is huge. David Stewart Farm. You're out there looking for soldiers, and you're recording drum circles, and you're hearing chanting. There's just so many layers of the history. I mean, John Sable. I respect that guy a lot. He calls, what does he call it? Something about the layers of history. Every piece of land. There's been a lot of different types of people on that land. And he treats it like an excavation where you're going on all these different levels and picking things up. So, I mean, Native Americans were everywhere. So don't be surprised if you're, downtown Chicago, but you're picking up, Native American sounds.
And Tracy would understand, too, that we've actually gotten some Native American evidence, so to speak, with layers kind of locally when you came kind of locally to me. So we got some cool EVPs about that too in that park we were at.
Tracy mentioned something about she even had a dream at one time about a tree, something about a tree burning. And then she happened to one day she was driving past where there was a tree, and then she looked and this tree had been apparently on their land. Okay. And it says that it had been struck by lightning. And so then she sees it and she's like, oh, wow. So that's maybe that forecasting, Kelly, maybe that they are something that they are then they actually go see it and then it's there, kind of that foreshadowing or something. Wow.
Yeah. But, and Jody has a question too. Go
ahead.
She said, what do you think about teaching kids the field of the paranormal?
If Jody was here on time, she would have heard my answer to that.
Deanna did try to razz her for you. So
you have to bring them in. Those kids are going to do better than we've ever done. The field is going to progress, and they're the future of the field. Show them what you know and set them on their way and let them wow you.
Wow, Jody Nettle, she got a love for you, Flip. She loves you. She loves you.
One other thing that we really love about Flip is his new line of merchandise.
And ladies and gentlemen, that leads us to our next little pup.
So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you don't have to tell me I own like half your collection, but you can tell other people. Including this shirt right here.
This collection started from sitting at tables at conventions and not just wanting to sit there and, have a little listening station to hear EVPs. I wanted to do more and have fun with it. And I just started designing t-shirts. I mean, everybody in the paranormal, they love t-shirts. They love their black t-shirts. And we would put things on them. I mean, when we did the show, the name of our group was the Generic Black Shirt Group. And wow. It started from there. And creating the clothing, the designs for clothing, and it moved on to I help out teams. I'll redesign their logos or design it from the ground up if they don't have anything, so that they can go out there and get some recognition for their team and wear their brand.
Tracy's asking about a link, Flip. She says link ?
Deadisnottheend.com is the website. And if you go on the top page, there's a link to TeePublic, which has t-shirts, mugs, tapestries, phone cases, everything's on there.
Okay, cool. Looks like it's going to be on there. Well, scrolling through the questions, it looked like we knocked them out of the park. I tell you, our friend.
Great questions. Like really great questions.
Oh man, I'm sitting there reeling, going, "Wow, what a fun show!"
And we know, Keith, that COVID has messed up everybody's schedule of everything. But Flip, what are you going to be doing next?
I don't know. I have people that take care of that. I'm a celebrity.
I hear you have a good manager.
I tell you, we're going with Mallory. Kelly will be there as well.
Yep.
And
my first time at the Shanley.
I was lucky enough to be graciously invited along on this, and I simply cannot wait to go.
Yeah, I've yet to go myself. Obviously, it's not going to fall into this time and moment, but I will tell you, sometime in my life before I go to become evidence, I too want to go there. I've heard a lot of people say it's amazing, and Flip tonight mentioned it. So maybe that'll be something once everyone gets there and gets to hang out. We'll get to go there because it's got to be a paradise. It's like the Walmart for spirits. Oh, now 5 we have a shadow figure. Oh, now 7 we have some fresh EVPs. We are running a special.
I remember that there was a time where they had 35 named documented spirits in that building that you could go to certain areas and interact with them. A bunch of them would move around the hotel and be in different spots, but no better location.
That's when you know you're having a good time, is when that's the case.
And nothing, I've never come across anything near malicious in that place. A couple of grumpy old spirits, but 30 fantastic experience, and I get no kickbacks from the Shanley Hotel. The amount of people I send there.
Wow, see there, man, what a deal! 35. That is probably about the most I've ever had. 35. That is a lot. That's a lot. Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what. For tonight, I would tell you folks, this has been an experience that I've been looking forward to for a minute, just by the fact of getting to let Flip get out there, and Flip's got the mic night. Have it and just have fun with it. It was Flip live in concert like never before. An hour and 30-minute show, folks. I don't know if he does encores, but I will tell you that it's been a very fun show. Everybody's been saying awesome, how cool, how fun. And like we've been saying too, we do ask that for all of you that are out there that are our Love and Light listeners to just take that time, show a little love, because you could be the very next guest on our show, and folks are getting to call in and ask you those questions. So this is not that show to where we or no, far be it from you being here. Go away, you peasant. Not here, folks. We are a ball cap, blue jeans and boots kind of show. We have fun. We are just those folks out there that when you see us out at an investigation or an event, that will sit at the bar and have a cold one with you or have a dinner, because that's who we are. Flip's the same way too. So just know that. You may have to buy Flip a beer. I mean, that might be something. But anyway,
especially if you want me to look at pictures of orbs on your phone.
If you start doing the orbs, he's like, talk to me.
And if you want to
buy me a drink, I'll look at whatever you want me to look at.
That's it. This is a family show.
It
Reel
is.
it in a little bit. It's a family show.
I know.
All right,
the Mansons were a family too.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, everybody put in about great show. Hey, and really, if you've seen folks, every one of you commenting, this is what makes it become the show. You guys interacting, asking the questions, making it fun, the laughs, the moments. And look, I'm going to tell you what, Flip was the rock star guy to kind of lead us off for this new format. But I will tell you, some of the ones in the future as well that are going to get to come and hang out with us, folks, we're going to continue to have that because we want you to enjoy it, have a part in it, and feel like, wow, I've learned something. Tell me tonight, let us know, PM us, call us however you want to, and tell us something you may have learned from the show or something like, wow, I got something from that. Because that type of, when you do that, that lets us know we're going in that right direction. And that's what me and even Kelly and even Flip is, where are you looking to steer the show? So by you going down that path, that lets us know, okay, we can do that show. We can get that person. I'll spend hours in a day going, calling, telling Kelly, bothering her, but I want to make the show a rock star event because when you guys are happy, we're happy, and you can see we're all having fun. So we love you. We mean it. Flip.
And I'd like to say, if somebody had a question that they didn't feel comfortable putting into the chat, find me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm, just by my name or by Dead Is Not the End. Just find me, and I'll answer any questions.
Flip, Tracy says, thanks for coming to speak. She's right there. She's showing the love. And Courtney says, and we love Courtney. How could you not love Courtney Peterson? She says, first time joining in tonight, and she loved it. And she's a sweetheart. She's done many things. Hey, Keith, how are you doing? Some of my own tragedies in a very short amount of time. I lost most of my family, and so many people were like right there. So so many of you, I have such an emotional contact. I'll stop before I start crying. But you guys have been, well, you're my new family. I'll just put it that way, right? So you all mean the world to me.
Well, and we discussed how that happens with, in the paranormal, we relate as family instead of just friends a lot of times because we, can bond at a deeper level over all these experiences that we're still trying to figure out. But I know I see you're inspiring people to already go buy equipment on Amazon. So you better check your eBay Flip because you may have to outbid a few people there.
I have about 15 blank recorders right now, so I'm good for a while. Okay. I'll let you get one or two.
I didn't think you'd ever have that, not enough. But, well, Flip, thanks so much for coming on and answering everyone's questions. And thanks for the amazing graphics work to the beginning of the show, courtesy of you as well. Like, huge round of applause. And we greatly appreciate it. And, of course, we'll have you back anytime and you can give us updates.
I wish you guys great continued success. I really had a lot of fun here. And I loved all the questions. It was fantastic hearing from everyone.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. Well, thank you so much. And you just hang on for a second and we're going to wrap up.
Folks, we do want to let you know that next week, our guest, Mr. Tim Molly of Paragraphs, is going, actually not this next week, but the week after that, right? Will be joining us. The one, the only, the man also, just like Flip, loved by so many people. Who does not love Tim Molly? Folks, Paragraphs, there is an event in May at the Asylum with Ashley Storm. Yes, an investigation, the event. You got so many amazing people that are going to be there. Check it out. I'll post something after this show about that event. And let me tell you, Tim's going to be on the show pushing the event. I know they're doing something on another show tonight, but that is going to be an amazing show.
And you're going to be at that one too, Keith, right?
I'm going to be at the event. I'm going to be bringing equipment for people to use. I bring a trunk of equipment and I hand out, you use something. That's what I do. And absolutely. Well, folks, it's going to be an amazing event for a good cause. It's Autographs. We don't get paid to be there. We're there because I love Tim. Tim's like a brother to me. I love him to death. I really do. He's such a great friend and such an amazing opportunity to help animals. We're actually going to be helping elephants in this, and there's a cause for that. So they got asked to do it, and there you go. I'll post about that. I did want to say, but for tonight, what an amazing show! How fun!
God.
All the comments,
awesome. Like all the questions.
I was trying to keep up, but like I tell you, share and show some love because I'm telling you, we have some little gift items, and when you get them, you're gonna be like, oh, how cool! You get you some swag. Do that, and we pay attention. And again, if you have a team, if you have something special you do, how are you helping the paranormal? What are you doing to help others? Okay. And Kelly's a teacher. I also teach. I do fire classes and paramedic classes. If you teach others in that, let us know. We'll vet you a little bit. Make sure you're a good guy. People know that you're not out there doing bad things. But once that's the case, we go from there. We want to have good people on the show and have those questions. And if you want
any of Flip's links and all his, YouTube and Instagram, Facebook and Instagram website, all those things, we're going to put those on our Facebook page when we're done. So that way you can look up his clothes or ITC services or find him there with your questions.
Okay. I see all the great show. We love you. 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 We mean it. We love you. Send us friend requests. We're the same. Happy. Give you. I'm 6'5", 280 pounds. I'm a big guy. But when I see you at an event, you come over and give me a hug. Let's hug. I'm just that person. All right. Kelly is amazing, Tracy. But we love you doing this show. Share it and do it, folks. That's how the word gets out about T&T Paranormal.
Right? And you can now find us on YouTube too. So don't forget, or if you want to replay the show or share it, you can share it from Facebook or YouTube. But if you never catch the live, you can always watch it on there.
And just have fun with it. That's what the show's about. Like I said, ball caps, boots, and blue jeans. We're just having fun and sharing love. Thank you so much. We do got to get off of here, but thank you all so much.
Thank you. Have a great night, everybody. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That's right.